Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
This week we are recapping Summerhouse Season 8, Episode 2.
The season is continuing to come out strong, even 2 episodes in, even ending on some pretty severe accusations from Lindsay against Carl that we're going to get into. But let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, so we are wrapping up the 4th of July party. The girls are chatting. Amanda is basically talking about how Kyle is projecting. You know, he feels like the business needs to be in a place where he can step back, and he's always saying that she's the one that's not ready for it when really he's the one that's not ready for it. Sierra and West have a cute little competition on who is going to be better at riding the bull shark. Sierra lasts a pretty impressive 22 seconds, and West lasts about 2.8, I think is the final estimation.
Yeah.
His pants were definitely not the appropriate attire for this particular activity. But it definitely felt like he would be maybe a little bit better at that than that.
Well, yeah, especially because his dad is a
cattle rancher.
Yeah. But I have to say, I love the banter between Sierra and West, and I feel like we haven't seen her have this type of banter with anyone. And I know last week I was like, I think I like West. I love West. I love him.
I know. He's fully taken over. He's coming up number 1 in my books.
Yeah, he's so funny.
Yeah. Obsessed. We have Danielle chatting it up with Z Boys. We obviously had quite an intense winter house with her last season. So at least glad to know that she's learned the lesson that she should not date within the house.
Yes.
We're happy at that.
Don't date without the house. Quick aside, did you just see she was on Watch What Happens Live? Yes. And she confirmed that, so she was seeing Joe Bradley from Southern Hospitality.
Yeah.
Apparently he, love bombed her and, said, I love you, and was, really intense. And then she also confirmed that he did, in fact, hook up with Countess Luann from New York.
No, it's crazy. Very interesting, Mr. Joe Bradley. He really didn't come off very well in all of this, has he?
No, really badly. And also, I'm just so Danielle, what are we doing? But anyways, I digress.
It seemed like a good idea at the time, I'm sure. Speaking about good idea at the time, Jesse is chatting up Paige, and he has a little aside with Kyle, kind of being like, do I need to only date? Do I need to only chat up or flirt with the single girls in the house, or can I flirt with the not single ones too? And he has this really dorky moment where he is super dorkily is like, I'm a killer, I get with girls, and it's like, okay, dude.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that at all.
The party starts to wrap up basically pretty soon after that. Really cute little moment once again in the kitchen between Wes and Sierra. Gabby says, Wes, where's your fan? Because Danielle's just turned on the fog machine and it's going full blast. And he's like, my biggest fan? Right here. And then he turns to Sierra and he's like, I used you for that joke.
I know. I love him so much. And then you just see everyone in the house laughing.
I know. They really like him too, which I think is what makes it so enjoyable, because it really feels like the group is bonding, and it's like, where has Bravo been hiding these boys?
I mean, only one boy currently. I'm still definitely on the fence about Jesse Solomon. Even though we do learn something very intense that he had went through that we'll get to a little bit later when they do fun facts.
Yeah, super fun facts. So Danielle announces that the Send It Lab is open for business, and anyone that wants to partake in absolute debauchery is now able to do so. I just thought that was really cute that there's obviously still 2 factions kind of happening within the group. There are the people that want to send it, and then there's the people that want to crawl into bed and debrief and get into their PJs, and I totally respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just nice that even though we're having both sides of those happen, we're still kind of getting a good vibe from the group. I think that was kind of a big point of contention last year, was that it felt like everybody just wanted to kind of go to bed and
that's true.
Not hang out.
It is just funny that the people who do want to send it are the more older OGs.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, as always, is the last man standing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the next morning, West wakes up and goes out and lies in the sun. Kyle and Amanda start the morning off strong and already get into a fight from the moment that they wake up. The group gathers downstairs to have breakfast, and Jesse is cooking, which is really cute. Love that. And interestingly, in this moment, Sierra kind of compares Wes to Austin.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, I don't know, I don't need him to be funny. Like, I need more than funny. I've done funny. And I just kind of couldn't believe that, and it made me a little sad.
Yeah, Austin is not funny. I don't know why we're
not that funny. He's like, not funny enough to be compared to Wes. That's for sure.
Totally. And like, yeah, no, that was, I don't understand why they felt the need to do that comparison. Is this when Amanda and Kyle wake up and like,
yes,
like Amanda just hates Kyle. Like she just hasn't, like, wants nothing to do with him. Yeah. Honestly, the scenes between them make me uncomfortable. Like,
I know.
It's so awkward.
I know. It's almost like, it's hard to imagine that you could kind of get to that point in a relationship and you would still be kind of like even attempting to function, because it just feels like you've gotten so past like the point of like normal, right? Like, it seems like you've gone past the point of no return.
But that's it. And it's also like clearly things have happened off camera that we haven't seen, and we're now only seeing Amanda get to her breaking point. But like from a viewer, we're really just seeing her kind of shut down his attempt to even talk about it. She's just like, I'm not doing this right now. I want to go home. Like, if you don't get ready in time, I'm leaving without you. It's just like
someone else's car.
It's like, it's very like, you can cut the tension with a knife. And it's just like, it's not like it's the first time we've seen them be this way. And it's just like, I can't believe we're back here. I also can't believe they're seemingly fine on the other end of it. So like, what happened?
Well, I mean, I think that they have a common enemy that's about to come into the house, so that might kind of help with that whole situation. I do think it is good that this is happening like in the house, only because like Paige is kind of there to kind of like go in and like go tend to Amanda and hear her out and kind of like try to help, you know, bridge the gap a little bit between the two of them. Clearly that's something that is going to continue to like happen as well. The fact that Kyle, I think Paige was on Watch What Happens Live recently, and she even was like, Kyle goes to me because he knows it'll get back to Amanda.
Yes.
Because it's like, this is how they can kind of like have that conversation.
Yeah. So. But then I think Amanda just, the way that it's perceived is like her being like, he's just talking badly about me to everyone. And that actually, I really felt for her when she was saying that. And she's just like, I just keep hearing the same thing over and over. And now you're just going and telling other people how much I suck. Like...
Yeah, and like nobody likes having their like being talked about behind your back, right?
Yeah. Oh, the dynamics are so bad.
They are, unfortunately. But aside from Kyle and Amanda, you know, a really good weekend one. I think the general consensus from the group is that they want to, you know, move forward into the summer with this energy, and they want to be able to kind of like keep this kind of status quo going next weekend when Carl and Lindsay will be arriving. So, yeah. Fingers crossed. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go so well.
It does not go so well.
Unfortunately. So we then get some scenes back in the city. Lindsay and Carl meet kind of after Carl's played some basketball, some b-ball. And, you know, I think the kind of like main takeaway from this conversation is that like he's okay with kind of the idea of like pandering to the group a little bit, and he's like okay with like, you know, like he brings it up in the conversation of like as if like it's about Babe and like how, oh, we're not going to say Babe this summer, we're going to say Dude, because that's, the group gets triggered by the word Babe. And she's like, well, that's annoying that you're doing that and that you care, like just do whatever you want to do. And he's like, but I do want to be part of the group, so that is me doing what I want to start doing.
Yes, totally that. But then also he brought it up as a joke. Like, yeah, obviously there's truth to it. There's actually a lot of truth to it because clearly, like you said. But he brought it up as a joke, and she just completely dismissed him and got angry at him. And then he's like, oh, sorry, like I'm making a joke. I guess it didn't land. She's like, yeah, it didn't land.
Yeah.
Like, it just like so like, I'm sorry. Flash forward to what we're about to see later when her argument apparently is that Carl dismissed her feelings. Like, I don't know. I found that dynamic actually quite telling, that like her willingness to shut him down.
It does. It feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. Like, especially now that we know what happens and how the summer progresses, like definitely it's these are the signs for us, right? These are the signs. These are things that we're going to continue to look for throughout the season to see, like, why did they not go down the aisle together?
I mean, okay, we're gonna talk about it in a second. Obviously, I really want to get into what happens at the end, but I don't know how Lindsay can literally say that she was blindsided when episode 2, we know what happened.
We're not blindsided.
Yeah, anywho.
We're not surprised at all.
Yeah. He also wasn't, like, when she was talking about wedding planning, he was like, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Back to the Hamptons.
Back to the Hamptons. Well, so yes, and then basically we just have like a little sit down between Kyle and Amanda as well. They go on a little date. It sounds like it's been a little while. It sounds like, you know, they resolve their issues a little bit. They understand that fundamentally they both want the same things, but they are also just very different, like, personality types, right? He's very much a workaholic. He is very much the definition of, like, work hard, play hard, and she is very much not. And they just need to kind of, like, either accept each other's differences in those ways or not. But luckily it seems to be resolved by the end of the episode, so it doesn't matter. We're just moving on from there. So heading back to the Hamptons, we have Danielle driving down with Kyle and Amanda. We have Paige and Sierra arriving next. And then Jesse and Wes drive down together. It looks really cute. I like that the boys are bonding. I think it's important that these two people in particular are kind of having those moments together, because that's also going to be like what helps them kind of like have these good dynamics within the group and actually stay longer than one season, like almost every other boy that has been on this show. So enjoy that. And then Carl and Lindsay arrive with Gabby. Lindsay, and this is maybe a shady comment, right away breaks into the rosé, unfortunately. And I think that that's also telling on kind of where we go by the end of this episode.
Yes. Well, she was like nervous to talk to the girls, I guess.
Yes.
I did, however, see a comment that was like, Lindsay has kind of alienated herself from these girls and also not been super nice to them back for many a season. And now here is kind of a little bit of her reckoning, and she's like she's like really worried about it. And a lot of it probably stems from her not having Danielle anymore, right? Because she always at least had Danielle. Yeah. Because it's not like her relationship with the other girls has changed. But that's probably it.
That's very much it. So she doesn't have Danielle, and she doesn't really have Kyle the way that she used to too, right? Like they used to very much be kind of like in each other's corner, and they're a little bit more, you know, at odds these days. We then have a very interesting little moment, basically just kind of like awkward room dynamics creeping up once again. We have West kind of like offer his room because he knows that he was in Lindsay and Carl's room from last weekend. And so he's like, okay, well, you guys can have that room because it has a bathroom. I'm like, Wes, like, why are you giving up your room? Like, I get that you're trying to be nice, but, like, come on. And then he's like, but I just want the fan. And then Lindsay's like, well, is it hot in there? Because that was the hottest room last summer. So, like, she's like, you can't take that fan. And I'm just like, why can't he take that? He's giving you the room with the bathroom. All he wants is a fan.
It was such an awkward exchange. But that's it. And it's just so funny because it's like the weekend before, it's like good vibes, like literally zero fights. Everyone's having the best time. The second Lindsay comes in the room, she is like starting stuff with West, who is like her friend. Like she is the reason that he's on the show. And she's just being like so passive aggressive to him, and he just wanted to do something nice. And he was like, yeah, sure, totally take my room. Can I just have this fan? And and not only does she say no, she does it like so passive aggressively. She's like, well, is the room still hot? And then when he's like, oh, I can, like, why don't you go up and check and then let me know? And she's like, I've been in this house for years. Like, I know what it's like. Like, you're just like, whoa, calm down, lady.
Yeah, and Carl is unfortunately just kind of like awkwardly like there, just like standing there. And then like Carl like brings up the bags to the room, and he's like, what's wrong? And Lindsay's like, nothing, I just, good vibes.
Yeah. And so awkward.
Like, oh, so not really good vibes, actually. Like, was she hoping, and this is so fun, like talking about Countess Luann, was she hoping that like somebody was going to give them like a better room because they're like a couple?
Yes.
Crazy. And like, I get it. You'd probably be upset because you're a couple and you find out that Paige is like literally in the master bedroom.
It's so funny though.
But Paige needs the closet? I don't know.
I mean, Paige has shared a room every year.
That is true. Even in the years when she didn't have to. So yeah, I agree with that. So I'm going to skip over the Danielle and Lindsay dynamic because I kind of feel like what's even the point? We know that by the end of the summer they're friends again. So
it's true. Yeah.
Moving along.
It's just them kind of being awkward with each other for a second. Yeah.
And like, it's like the conversation is like, will Danielle go to Lindsay and Carl's wedding? And it's like, well, not Carl's not even going to Lindsay and Carl's wedding. So
true.
So they have a little celebration about the fact that there's 4 boys in the house. They all sit down for dinner. And they decide to do Paige actually comes up with this really good idea. I think I would do this at dinner as well. She's like, okay, everybody go around and say like one thing that the group doesn't know about you, and then they just decide to just do it about the 2 new guys because I guess that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And Wes' fun fact is that he's been to all 50 states, which is very much a fun fact. That is like.
It is. It's like one of those like ones you can have in your pocket. I hate fun facts. I'm always like, oh God, what do I say?
I have no fun facts.
And then someone has like the coolest thing, and then you're like, I was a lifeguard. So
there you go. Well, or you have what West has, and you have a fun fact, and then it gets followed up with Jesse's fun fact, and you're like, oh, okay. Very different level of fun facts. So Jesse discloses that he is a 2-time cancer survivor and that he's hoping to be 5 years cancer-free in August. And so we'll actually get to see that kind of probably unravel a little bit on the show. Not unravel, but like play out.
That was wild.
That was wild. And West, of course, comes up with a perfect little quip where he's like, can you imagine if he went and then I went?
I know. He's like, this guy it was so good. He's like, I've been to all 50 states.
So we get to the moment at hand, the big experience. The group gets ready to go out. They've finished supper. They're getting ready. They're getting dressed. They all go out into the world, into the Hamptons, and we see just kind of like a little flash forward of like 1 hour later, and it's Gabby and Lindsay coming back into the house. And then we get like a little recap of kind of like what's gone down while we haven't had cameras on them.
Okay, yeah, I actually really like the way that they edited this, that like you see everyone leave and then they're literally like 1 hour later and you see like Lindsay and Gabby come back and kind of like tell us what had just unfolded.
I know. And the fact that like they probably like took a half an hour Uber to get wherever they went, and then they basically literally got like back into an Uber immediately after. Super fun. I'm sure it's exactly the night that Gabby was hoping for.
Poor Gabby, man. She's like, I've aligned myself to the wrong group. I mean, no, Gabby's friends with literally everyone.
Yeah.
I just feel bad that she obviously probably feels like she has to go back with Lindsay, because if not, like, who is going to?
Who's going to? It's true.
Even in her confessional, she's like, can I have a drink first? Like,
one drink first? That'd be kind of cool, but no. So we do get a little recap on kind of what's gone down since cameras went down. So we find out that on their way to the club, Lindsay was in the lift with the boys and not the girls. So she was worried that it was going to be used against her. And Carl basically says to her, babe, it's fine. I can see that, but it's not that deep. Mm-hmm. Or he can like see why she would feel that way or whatever, but it's not that deep.
Yeah, he's trying to de-escalate her.
Basically, and be like, it's okay. Like, we're all going to go out together now. We're all going to be in the same place. So then she says, he basically shuts me down and dismisses my feelings. And then he says, she looks at me and is like this close to his face. She's like, what are you on? And you're just like, no, what
honestly
happened?
It's so bad. It's so bad, and it only gets worse. And then you see like everyone else's account of what happened. And it's all the same story. Sorry, like everyone else is like, what did Lindsay just do?
Yeah, literally. So Jesse's like, it precipitated out of nowhere. Kyle's like, Lindsay goes from 0 to 100. And then she goes up to Gabby. Lindsay basically goes up to Gabby and she's like, I want to leave. And Amanda apparently took notes. And Amanda wrote down that Lindsay said, he's on something. He's so mean to me. I can't do this. I think he's on something.
I cannot. I honestly, like, when I was watching this, I was like, no, like,
Yeah.
should we get into
Yeah.
further and then unpack it?
Sure.
Because it gets
Yeah.
worse. You thought
does.
that would be the worst, but no.
I know. No, it just keeps on getting worse. And that's just it. So back at the house, Gabby and Lindsay are chatting about it. You know, Lindsay is very much visibly upset. She says the way that he spoke to me tonight is reminiscent of Carl on other substances.
So an alliteration with his name.
Yes. And she says, I don't know what happened, but he was not sober tonight. She says something's wrong. Like, she literally just kind of keeps on like running through these, right? She's like, something's wrong with him. He was past Carl tonight. Gabby, quite smartly, I think, like, you know, calls Carl and she's like, hey, I just want to check up on you, see how you're doing. And, like, you know, under the guise of like kind of just like checking up on him, but also to like kind of like validate what Lindsay's saying, because obviously this is a massive accusation. And she basically, Gabby's like, he sounds like a sober person to me. It's like, I think it's
was like, we literally hear him on the phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't even begin to like unpack how messed up this is. Like, let's say it's a heat of the moment, like, you know, Lindsay's been drinking all day. That is still not okay. And to be honest, already I feel like that is grounds for breaking up. Like, this is like, but she doubles down on it so many times. Like, she does it at that night. She does it twice that night. She does it once at the counter with Gabby. She does it again with Gabby in bed. She does it the next morning, which is the most insane one. Like, to do that to the person that you're going to marry who is sober because he is not blindly going along with your feelings, I'm shook.
Yeah, and like a lot of the accusations that she kind of has at him too, right, is that it's like he's dismissing her feelings, the way that he's kind of being like really harsh, like she's talking about like PTSD from like his old self and like how he used to behave. Like, there's just like so many different little things. And one part of like their exchanges, so Carl then like texts Lindsay, and they kind of like have like a little back and forth, and he's like, hey, I think reviewing what went down tonight differently. Let's chat tomorrow. And she's like, let me know when you're sober. And then he goes, I'm sober right now. You're not. I'm sober right now, Lindsay. You're not, period. And she says, now, sure. Before, no. You were awful to me. You were so mean to me. And it's just like, oh my God.
But also, like, we don't know what went down, obviously, but like, just because he's being mean to you, if he's being mean to you, because to be honest, like, she's not looking like the most reliable narrator in the scenario, right? Like, he seems very even keeled to everyone else and to what we hear. Regardless, even if he was, like, to literally be like, okay, even once he seemed like he was when he was not sober, but then to say it all these other times, like, he's being mean, therefore he is obviously not sober. It's just like, it's so incredibly hurtful and it's so incredibly damaging. And you are putting this on national television, even though she later puts out a statement taking zero accountability, basically being like, I was under the impression that I was just sharing this information with my close friend.
I know.
Girl, you've been on this show for 8 seasons.
I know. I literally, oh my God. Actually, do you want me to read it? Because I have it.
Yeah.
Okay. After watching back this week's episode, I wish I had used better wording. I was emotional and hurt by what had transpired earlier that night, and what I said was meant to be a private conversation at home with one of my best girlfriends.
While I'm filming a TV show that only films in the summer for like 2 months.
Brought it up so many times, showed him text messages, like had the text messages pop up onto the screen, had a conversation the next day with him about it, had a conversation the next day with Danielle about it. Yeah. So everybody goes to sleep and starts fresh, or so we hope, the next day. Lindsay comes into Carl and Lindsay's bedroom with a couple of water bottles, and just right off it's a little bit similar. It's mirroring the Kyle and Amanda interaction the weekend before, like right off the bat, you know, starting the morning off strong in a fight. Oh God, and the fight is just like so roundabout, right? Like it's her saying like, you treated me so badly last night, and him being like, I'm sorry that you felt that way, and then that starts a fight because it's like, how is it but that? It's about how you treated me, and you can't just say that.
But even before that, sorry, rewind to the
No,
water bottle thing, because even the water bottle thing is
yeah,
like
not great.
is like kind of taken as something different. Like she's like, here's
Yes.
some water, which I didn't feel that as like, here's some water. I felt that as like, here's some water because you clearly weren't sober last night, so you need water.
Oh,
I don't
I'm
know.
I'm I'm drunk and hungover, and I need water, so you need
Yeah,
water
I
too,
mean, I
because
don't know.
you're also not.
Maybe that's just like
That's
conspiracy brain. But
it's
just like
definitely an interpretation of it.
the way that she responded, and he's like, I don't need water right now, but thank you, I appreciate it. And she's
Yeah,
like, God, you can't even just say thank you.
yeah.
And
He's
it's like
like,
he
I
literally just
did.
said thank you.
Literally just said thank
Like,
you.
but this is what I mean by like, she is just in a mode right now where like she's not, I don't feel like she's seeing things as they are. She's very
Yeah.
much like, to pull a Tom Sandoval, a slave to her emotions.
Not a slave to her emotions.
You know, like it's just like everything
Yeah,
is being, I don't know, like she's just, nothing Carl says right now is going to be okay for her. Like
yeah,
she's,
and it also like it makes you wonder like why did you even like go get into bed, like you clearly like you could have just like continued to sleep in Gabby's room and like had a conversation like in the morning
and
when
like
like both
cooled
of
off.
you had cooled off and you'd like had some time to collect yourself. But no, and then they just kind of like continued to spiral from like what they were talking about the night before. She's like, this is impossible. We're going to have the worst weekend ever. And he's like, well, no, you decided that. And she's like, well, no, you decided that. And it's just like, they're starting to fight about like stupid stuff. And they're clearly just like both in like a really bad place. And I think Lindsay's like, more maybe kind of putting them into that bad place because Carl
Well,
does just kind of want to like
yeah,
get over it.
he keeps
But
trying to de-escalate, but even like honestly, I was really shocked by this morning scene. I was like, I would expect her to come and be like, "Oh my god, Carl, I can't believe I said that. I was not okay. I was
yeah,
not in my right mind. I'm so sorry." But the first thing she says to him is, "You were disgusting to me last night."
yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's just, it's unfortunate because I just don't think she's really capable of kind of like seeing herself in that way to have that like self reflection and self awareness. And like,
I just
it's like,
can't
nope, I'm
believe
still
it.
mad and I'm going to pick a fight right now.
I
This
just
is the
can't
perfect moment to do
believe
that.
I can't believe that she didn't even acknowledge what she had said. She
Mm-hmm.
literally was more just being that he was mean to her. And then when
Yeah.
she does acknowledge what she had said, it's
Mm-hmm.
doubling down, being like,
It is.
you were not yourself, like you were not sober. And then he's like,
Yeah.
Lindsay, I am sober. What are you talking about? And she's like,
Yeah.
why did you say I'm sober right now? What did
Mm-hmm.
that mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
that's just it. And at that point as well, like he's already like he's trying to be like, I'm gonna go for a run, like let me get out of here, like I don't need to be here. And she's like, well, no, here, this is the new piece of information that you need to address right now. You need to tell me why you said right
I
now.
feel like she really thought that that was like the missing piece that had like
Yeah.
shown that he's
Look,
lying.
look, it's
Like,
true. The thing that I thought is true. It was just, it's icky. It's an icky moment. It is not good.
it's extremely shocking. And it's also just like we have seen Carl struggle with sobriety so many times. Like,
Yeah.
and like he even said in this episode, he's finally starting to,
Mm,
understand who he is as a sober person and come into his own as a sober person. And I just feel like I'm honestly shocked. Like I
I
understand, like
know.
I know Lindsay's explosive and I know she has these trigger points, especially around abandonment. And that must have been, kind of what did it. And I know that
Hmm.
Carl and her have their issues and Carl doesn't like confrontation, but like I am not seeing anything that Carl has done wrong in this episode. And I am really shocked and just like disappointed in her
Yeah.
behavior. Like I really don't think it's okay. I think it's really messed up.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it comes down to kind of like fundamentally, who are these two people and what do they look for in a relationship, right? And like she is very much somebody who does. She wants somebody that's in her corner, is always going to back her, is going to give her that kind of support. And Carl, unfortunately, is not that kind of partner for her. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with what Lindsay wants from a partner. I think that there are people out there that are able to support her and do that for her. But she hasn't found that person, unfortunately. And like trying to just like be with Carl because it's kind of like this like Cinderella, like love story, whatever that they've had now isn't like good enough. It's not like, it's also not fair to her to like settle for somebody who's not going to be the ride or die that she wants when that person is out there. And it's also just not fair for Carl to be with somebody who like makes him feel like this awkward and this awful and like has now made these accusations against him. And like they're also just they're so fundamentally in different places because he's fully sober and she is fully not. And like how can you maintain a relationship when you both have completely different lifestyles?
But not just the not being sober, she's very reactive when she's sober and she gets very triggered and activated. And that is not, and he obviously doesn't want to deal with that. And he tries to de-escalate it, but she sees him de-escalating it as her, you know, him not understanding her feelings and like,
him, like putting her down.
Like for her to for her to have now seen the episode and come out and not even say sorry, like literally basically be like, I stand by what I said. I just wish I didn't say it publicly is basically what she said.
I'm just confiding in my friends. What are you talking about? Well, and even if, and the thing is, I think maybe last summer, like she was trying to be the version of herself that could work for Carl, because Carl very much is like when we're in a relationship, like, or we're in a fight in a relationship, we're like, we're shutting it down, we're closing it off, we're not talking about it, we're just ignoring it, we're gonna like talk about it later. Like that is very much his style. And that's kind of what we're seeing here too, is like, hey, like, it's fine, we're all good, let's keep it up here, like let's keep it even keeled, and like if we have any problems or we don't like something, like let's deal with it later. And she did that last year and it didn't work, and it felt very weird and it felt very wrong, and it felt like they were in a weird place. And now we're seeing like her true nature kind of like come out and be just kind of like so counter to what, like how he operates and how she operates.
Yeah, no, they have totally different communication styles. But like, I've actually seen this 3 times now, because I watched the episode once and I watched it again before we did this. And then I saw the ending part too, because I showed it to my partner, because I was like, this look, so could you imagine? And every time I'm just like, I'm shook, even though like him being very like I found his text to be pretty like, I don't know, like I didn't see anything wrong with his text when he's just like, hey, like we're seeing this differently, like let's talk about it in the morning. And she says, talk to me when you're sober. Can you imagine?
I know. And the thing is too, like I always feel like I come back to the fact that like the summers are must be so triggering for him, and maybe this is me putting it onto him, but like we know that his brother passed away in the summer while he was filming this show, and he comes back to this house each year kind of like celebrating the anniversary of that experience, right? Like, and reliving, I'm sure, the experience of that. And like to now be kind of like, okay, this massive thing that happened to me like 2-3 summers ago, like impacted, you know, the way that I now fully live my life. And here I am returning kind of like to the scene of the crime of like the time when I decided that I did need to get sober and I could no longer like be, you know, drinking and partaking in different substances. And like to then have that kind of like called into question by the person that you're like supposedly in love with and supposed to marry and be like starting a life together. You guys are talking about like, you know, potentially being pregnant next summer, and you're having that accusation thrown out at you. It's just like, it's gotta be rough.
It's really bad. I don't really see how you come back from that, to throw it out that many times and for her to so easily go there. Like,
like a slip of the tongue or something at one point where you were just like, oh, in the heat of the moment, that was a wrong thing to say. But to continue to be like, nope, that's 100% what I think happened. And there's no way that you were in your right mind right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite shocking. And it also is like, this is episode 2. Like, I did think that we were going to see more of the cracks, but I did not think it was going to be shoved in our face this much, this early.
No.
Girl, how could you say you were blindsided? Like, this enough. This is one thing, you know, like this would in and of itself warrant a conversation of like, we need to be on the same page and like, let's talk about some things. But like, also there is the part that I can say that would go on Carl is like, if this happened and he didn't address it and he just swept this under the rug and like, you know, maybe this was just the thing that just kept gnawing at him.
Totally. Yeah. Well, as he says in the trailer, right? She's going to say that she was blindsided, but she has been blind to the things that have gone on this year. And boy, these are some big red flags going on this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, it's so, and it also makes me think too of the different ways that they both handled when the information got out. Like Lindsay very much put a narrative that, Carl did this to her,
Yeah.
and he broke up with her and she had no part in it and she thought they should fight for their relationship. And
Yeah.
he called producers and she was blindsided, and he
Yeah.
had been very quiet, and he was just kind of like, you're gonna see it play out on the
It's gonna
show.
play out. Yeah.
This
He
makes
fully
me
disappeared from social media too. Like we didn't see him
Yeah.
for weeks, weeks and weeks and weeks.
This makes me like, I don't know, like this definitely makes me think like maybe he was just like so sure of it that it's like they're gonna see the show and they're gonna see what happened. But it's also kind of sad that he got dragged so much and she just kind of like let that narrative run rampant, knowing that this had happened.
Yeah. And there's still people out there that can't believe that he like called production to like film it and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, I can definitely see both sides of things. Like, yeah, it's crazy to like film your breakup on TV, but also at the same time, it's like, maybe you did need a witness for this. Maybe you did need a witness in this moment.
Well, that's it. I don't know. And like, obviously they can't come out and say that much, but like, it must have been so hard for Carl not to just straight up, when he was getting dragged, be like, she literally called out my sobriety multiple times the first night we were there. Like,
man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's episode 2.
That's episode 2.
Oh, also, sorry, last thing. It is now so evident. Like, episode 1, super fun. Carl and Lindsay not there. Carl and Lindsay there. Giant fights.
And like episode 2, well, I guess they like kind of like split it up a little bit awkwardly, but episode 2 is really only just like the Friday night of this weekend too.
Oh my god, you're so right.
Like, what else is there?
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe we'll get destroyed, because we do know that Summerhouse is quite polarizing. People are very one way or another. But from what I'm seeing online, even people who are like, I'm a diehard Lindsay fan, and like, I cannot support this.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. I am surprised to hear that. Yeah, I have to admit, I usually just stay away from most social media when it comes to Summerhouse because it can be a scary place.
Yeah. Please, please be nice.
I mean, leave your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. Were you surprised? How are you liking this season? Remember when we were like, oh, we're so excited for Summerhouse. It's going to be the lightness that we need with VPR.
So much better than VPR. No. Well, it is better than VPR. VPR is a little boring right now, but this is really exciting. But definitely not light and frothy.
Yeah.